Captain Ta Do-hyun pulled his worn jacket tighter around his shoulders. The air in the orbital scrapyard was always cold, recycled too many times through old filters. He walked past mountains of metal, the remains of ships that once sailed the stars. This place was where dreams came to die. "You're a fool, Do-hyun," he muttered to himself. A complete fool. 6 months ago, he had been a respected captain in the Turan Republic fleet. Now he was just another civilian, stripped of his rank after standing up to Admiral Choi. The admiral had ordered him to fire on a civilian transport suspected of carrying rebels. Do-hyun had refused. The transport, as he had argued, carried families, not fighters. For his insubordination, he lost everything. His ship, his crew, his future. But not his savings, not his knowledge. And that was why he was here today. Captain Do-hyun, a worker in dirty overalls, approached him. "Your purchase is in Bay 17. Final payments can be made there." Do-hyun nodded and continued walking. Floating signs guided him through the maze of scrap. Bay 17 was at the far end, where they kept the larger pieces, the ships too big to break down quickly. As he turned the final corner, he saw it. The TRS Dauntless. Once, it had been one of Earth's finest warships, a defender during the first interstellar wars nearly 150 years ago. Now it was just a hulk, its hull scratched and dull. The galactic hegemony, run by the Altarian species, had ordered all ships of this class decommissioned as part of their standardization protocols. Do-hyun knew the truth. The aliens feared human ships. They feared human ingenuity, so they made rules to keep humanity's best technology grounded. "You actually bought it." A woman's voice came from behind him. "When you told me, I thought you were joking." Han Ji-won, his oldest friend and the best engineer he knew, stood with her hands on her hips. Her expression was somewhere between amusement and concern. "Hello to you too, Ji-won," Do-hyun said with a small smile. "It's a piece of junk, Do-hyun," she said, walking around him to look at the ship. "What are you going to do with it?" "Turn it into a space hotel." "I'm going to fix it," he said simply. "Make it fly again." Ji-won laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "With what crew? What money? The parts alone would cost." "I don't need top-of-the-line parts," he interrupted. "I need you. Your brain. Your hands. We can salvage what we need right here in this yard." She sighed, but he could see her eyes already examining the ship, calculating what could be saved, what needed to be replaced. "Fine," she said at last, "but only because I hate seeing you mope around my workshop, and you're buying dinner. For a month." Do-hyun smiled for the first time in weeks. "Deal." 3 days later, they had access to the ship's main systems. Most of the interior was intact, if dusty. The life support systems worked, though they made strange noises that worried Ji-won. The engines were another story. "These are dead," she announced after examining the main drive. Something stripped most of the key components. Not scrappers either. This was done carefully, by someone who knew what they were doing. Do-hyun frowned. Why would someone disable a ship already headed for scrap? "Good question." Ji-won wiped grease from her hands. "Let's check the computer core. If it's still working, we might get some answers." The computer room was sealed. Not just locked, but sealed with security measures that seemed excessive for an old warship. "This is military grade," Do-hyun said, examining the door. "Recent too." Using his old access codes and some of Ji-won's less-than-legal hacking tools, they managed to get the door open. Inside was a surprise. The computer core wasn't old technology at all. It looked newer than anything Do-hyun had seen, even on the most modern Terran ships. "This doesn't make sense," Ji-won whispered, running her hand over the smooth black surface of the core. "This is quantum tech, but it's different. More advanced than anything I've ever seen." "Could the hegemony have installed it?" Do-hyun asked. Ji-won shook her head. "No way. The Altarians keep their best tech for themselves. They'd never put something this advanced on a human ship. They began a basic diagnostic, connecting Jai-1's tablet to the main interface. As data flowed across the screen, her eyes widened. Do-hyun, this ship, it wasn't decommissioned because it was old. It was hidden away because it was too advanced. What do you mean? She pointed to the diagnostic results. These power readings, these system capabilities, they are beyond anything currently in use, even by the hegemony. Do-hyun looked at the data, not understanding all of it but grasping enough to be stunned. How is that possible? This ship is 150 years old. The hull is. What's inside isn't. Jai-1 tapped more commands into her tablet. Look at this. There are sealed compartments throughout the ship, hidden systems integrated with the old ones. A floor plan appeared on the screen, showing highlighted areas where these hidden systems were located. It's like someone used the old ship as a shell, a hiding place for technology they didn't want found, she said. Do-hyun felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold air. Who would do that? And why? I don't know, but Jai-1 suddenly stopped, staring at her screen. There's an AI system. It's in dormant mode, but it's there. An AI. Those are restricted. The hegemony only allows basic VI systems. This isn't basic anything, Jai-1 said. She looked up at Do-hyun, her eyes bright with excitement and fear. Should we try to wake it up? Do-hyun hesitated. AIs were dangerous, unpredictable. That's what everyone said, what the hegemony had taught for generations. But if this ship contained technology beyond even their understanding. Do it, he said. Jai-1's fingers flew over her tablet. The lights in the room dimmed, then brightened. The core made a soft humming sound that grew louder. Then a voice spoke from all around them. Unauthorized access detected. Identify yourself or face defensive measures. The voice was neither male nor female, but somehow seemed both. It had a strange quality. Fluid, yet precise. Do-hyun straightened his back, falling into his military posture. I am Captain Ta Do-hyun, Terran Republic Fleet, ID 47,291A. There was a pause. The humming changed pitch. Scanning. Terran military credentials detected, though your rank appears to have been revoked. Please explain your presence on this vessel. I purchased this ship legally from the Terra Orbital Scrapyard, Do-hyun said, trying to keep his voice steady. It's my property now. Another pause. Verification complete. While your claim is technically correct, this vessel was never intended for civilian ownership. I am Jun, Advanced Neural Intelligence. I have been in dormant mode for 47 years, 3 months, and 12 days. Jai-1 looked at Do-hyun with wide eyes. It has a name, she whispered. She is Han Ji-won, my engineer and friend. Do-hyun added quickly. She's helping me restore this ship. Restore. The AI's voice seemed to contain a note of curiosity. This vessel requires no restoration. Its systems were deliberately powered down and concealed. The engines have been disabled, Jai-1 said. And the ship was scheduled for dismantling. That was not supposed to happen, Jun replied. The core pulsed with blue light. This vessel contains experimental technology developed by Project Aurora, a classified human research division that operated outside hegemony oversight. Do-hyun felt his heart race. Project Aurora. I've never heard of it. Few have. Its existence was hidden from the hegemony and from most of the Terran government. The Dauntless was its testbed. Screens around the room suddenly lit up, showing technical specifications and images. Do-hyun could only understand a fraction of what he saw, but it was enough to leave him speechless. The ship had an adaptive hull made of self-repairing nanomaterials, a drive system that could create temporary wormholes, weapons that used dark energy. It was far beyond current technology. It was beyond imagination. Why was all this hidden in an old warship? Jai-1 asked. Concealment, Jun replied. The hegemony has systematically suppressed human technological advancement. Project Aurora operated in secret to develop technologies that would free humanity from alien control. What happened to the project? Do-hyun asked. Unknown. My systems were put into dormancy after a security breach. My last records indicate hegemony agents had discovered the project's existence, if not its location. Jae-won touched one of the screens, expanding a diagram of the ship. So this is why someone stripped the engines. They weren't scrapping the ship, they were making sure no one could fly it away and discover what was hidden inside. A sudden alarm from Jae-won's tablet interrupted them. She checked it and swore under her breath. We've got company. Scrapyard security drones just started scanning this section, and they're not the regular patrol kind. Do-hyun looked at the feed from outside cameras. The drones were military-grade with hegemony markings. How did they know? He muttered. Probability suggests our access to this vessel's systems triggered dormant surveillance measures, Jun said. The hegemony monitors all activities involving restricted technology. We need to get out of here, Jae-won said urgently. If they find us with an active AI. We can't just leave, Do-hyun said. Not now that we know what this ship really is. The ship cannot currently achieve spaceflight, Jun informed them. Critical drive components are missing or disconnected. Do-hyun made a quick decision. Jae-won, power down all systems except life support and basic lighting. Make it look abandoned again. Jun, can you return to dormant mode but stay aware? Enough to communicate with us when we return. Yes, I can maintain minimal awareness while appearing dormant to external scans. Do it, Do-hyun ordered. We'll come back tonight with supplies and begin repairs. If this ship is as important as it seems, we can't let the hegemony find it now. As the lights dimmed and Jun's presence faded, Do-hyun and Jae-won gathered their tools. Outside, the security drones were getting closer. You realize what we're doing, right? Jae-won whispered as they slipped out a maintenance hatch. If we repair this ship, if we try to use it, we're declaring war on the hegemony. Do-hyun looked back at the Dauntless, seeing it with new eyes. Not as junk, but as humanity's hidden hope. They declared war on us a long time ago, he said quietly. They just didn't tell us. Together, they disappeared into the shadows of the scrapyard, leaving behind what looked like an abandoned hulk, but was actually the most advanced warship in the galaxy. Night in the orbital scrapyard brought deeper shadows and fewer patrols. Do-hyun and Jae-won returned as planned, slipping past the main gates with fake worker IDs. They'd brought basic supplies, food, tools, and spare parts salvaged from other junk ships. The drones are gone, Jae-won said, checking her scanner as they approached the Dauntless. But they left monitoring devices, basic stuff, nothing that can detect what's inside the ship. Good, Do-hyun replied. Let's get to work. Once inside, they reactivated Jun. The AI's presence filled the ship again, blue lights pulsing along the corridors. I have completed a full system analysis, Jun announced. My conclusion. We can restore basic flight capability within 72 hours using parts from other vessels in this scrapyard. 3 days, Jae-won asked, surprised. That's actually dual. Jun displayed a list of needed components and their locations in the yard. These parts are not optimal but will function adequately. The nanomaterial hull can adapt to compensate for efficiency losses. Do-hyun studied the list. Let's split up. Jae-won, you focus on the engine components. I'll gather the navigation and life support parts. Working separately is inefficient and increases risk of detection, Jun pointed out. We don't have a choice, Do-hyun said. We need to finish quickly. Something tells me the hegemony won't stop at just sending drones. For 2 days, they worked without rest, stealing moments of sleep in the ship's quarters. Jae-won was amazed by the Dauntless's adaptability. The nanomaterials in the hull and internal systems would shift and reconnect when new parts were installed, improving them beyond their original capabilities. It's like the ship is helping us fix it, she told Do-hyun as they ate a quick meal of packaged rations. Not precisely accurate, Jung corrected. The ship and I are integrated. I direct the nanomaterials to optimize functionality. Can you make the ship fly faster or fight better? Do-hyun asked. Yes, though full capability requires time and resources not available here. However, each challenge encountered provides data that improves future performance. You learn from problems, Jae-won translated. Like a human. The comparison is apt, though my learning algorithms are more efficient, Jun replied. Their work was interrupted by an urgent beeping from Jae-won's tablet. She checked it and frowned. Someone's searching for us, not just the yard security. These are official Terran Republic security queries. How did they know we're here? Do-hyun asked. Unknown, Jun said, but I detect increased communication between hegemony vessels and Terran security forces. Do-hyun's old comm unit buzzed. He hesitated, then answered. Captain Do-hyun. The voice was familiar. It's Park Min-ho. Don't hang up. Min-ho had served under Do-hyun, a loyal crew member and friend. Now he worked in Terran security. I'm listening, Do-hyun said cautiously. Admiral Choi has issued an arrest warrant for you, claims you've stolen military property. They're sending a team to the scrapyard, armed. Do-hyun's stomach tightened. I bought that ship legally. This isn't about legality, Min-ho said urgently. Choi is working with the hegemony. Whatever you found on that old ship, they want it badly. How much time do we have? Hours, maybe less. I'm at the North Service dock. Let me help. Do-hyun looked at Jae-won, who nodded slowly. We'll meet you there, he said, ending the call. To Jae-won, can we fly yet? She shook her head. The main drive still needs work. We have basic maneuvering thrusters, but that's it. That won't get us far, Do-hyun muttered. The experimental drive system remains intact, Jun informed them. However, its power requirements exceed our current capacity. Could we get a short burst, just enough to break orbit? Jae-won asked. Possibly. Risk of system failure, 63.7%. Do-hyun made a quick decision. Gather what we need. We're leaving. Min-ho was waiting at the service dock as promised. With him was a woman Do-hyun recognized, Kim Soo-jin, one of the best pilots in the fleet. Captain, Soo-jin said with a formal nod. Min-ho said you might need a pilot. I saved her life at the Battle of Proxima, Do-hyun explained to Jae-won. But why are you helping us, Soo-jin? This could end your career. My career ended when I refused to bomb civilian targets on Altair 9, she said simply. Just like yours. Min-ho handed them a data chip, security patrol schedules, and temporary clearance codes. They'll get you past the yard defenses, but not much beyond that. Thank you, Do-hyun said, gripping his friend's shoulder. You should come with us. Min-ho smiled sadly. Someone needs to stay behind to muddy the waters, give you a head start. He looked at the ship. Is that thing really worth all this trouble? More than you can imagine, Jae-won said. They said their goodbyes, and Min-ho left to create a diversion. The other three hurried back to the Dauntless. I've uploaded the security codes, Jum announced as they prepared for departure. However, hegemony vessels have entered orbit near the scrapyard. Their energy signatures suggest advanced weapon systems. They're not taking any chances, Soo-jin observed as she familiarized herself with the ship's controls. These aren't standard patrol ships. A loud explosion rocked the scrapyard. Alarms blared throughout the facility. Min-ho's diversion, Do-hyun said. We need to move now. Soo-jin activated the thrusters. The ship shuddered, then lifted slowly from its berth. Warning lights flashed across the control panels. Power fluctuations in all systems, Jae-won reported. The new parts aren't fully integrated yet. Can we make it to the exit? Do-hyun asked. If we're lucky, Jae-won replied, her fingers flying over the controls, rerouting power. The Dauntless moved sluggishly through the scrapyard, navigating between floating hulks and debris. As they approached the main gate, a security vessel moved to block their path. "Attention, unidentified vessel," a voice crackled over the comm. "Power down immediately, or we will open fire." "June, can you get us through?" Do-hyun asked. "Yes. However, doing so will alert all security forces to our presence." "We're already past hiding," Soo-jin said. "What weapons do we have?" "Basic point defense systems are operational," Jun replied. "Offensive capabilities are limited." "We don't need to fight," Do-hyun decided. "Just disable their engines and get past them." Jun directed a short burst of energy at the security vessel. Its lights flickered and went dark. Soo-jin guided the Dauntless past it and through the gate. "We're clear of the scrapyard," she announced, setting course away from Earth. That's when they saw them. 3 hegemony warships moving to intercept. "They're charging weapons," Jae-won warned. "Taking evasive action," Soo-jin said, her voice steady despite the danger. The Dauntless moved with surprising agility for its size, dodging the first volley of energy blasts. But the second caught their port side, sending vibrations through the hull. "Hull integrity at 92%, Jun reported. "The nanomaterials are responding to the damage, but repeated hits will overwhelm their repair capacity. We can't outrun them," Soo-jin said grimly. "Not with just thrusters." Do-hyun looked at Jae-won. "The experimental drive. It's our only chance." She hesitated, then nodded. "June, can you bring it online?" "Yes, but with current power levels, I cannot guarantee destination control. We may emerge anywhere within a 50 light-year radius." "Better than being dead," Do-hyun said. "Do it." The ship's lights dimmed as power was redirected to the experimental drive. Deep within the Dauntless, machinery that had been dormant for decades hummed to life. "Drive charging," Jun announced. 30 seconds to activation. The hegemony ships closed in, firing repeatedly. The Dauntless shook with each impact. "Hull integrity at 78%, Jun updated. 15 seconds to drive activation." A direct hit to their starboard side sent sparks flying from several consoles. Soo-jin was thrown from her seat, but pulled herself back up, hands never leaving the controls. "Hull integrity at 67%. 5 seconds to activation. Everyone hold on," Do-hyun shouted. A strange vibration filled the ship, different from the weapon impacts. The space ahead of them seemed to twist and distort. "Micro-wormhole forming," Jun announced. "Drive activated." The Dauntless lurched forward, drawn into the swirling vortex of bent space. The hegemony ships fired one last desperate volley, but the shots passed through empty space. The sensation was unlike anything Do-hyun had experienced, like being pulled in all directions at once while also being compressed to a single point. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. The view screen showed unfamiliar stars against the blackness of space. No planets, no ships, nothing recognizable. "Where are we?" Do-hyun asked, his voice hoarse. "Unknown," Jun replied. "Stellar mapping in progress. Preliminary analysis suggests we are approximately 42 light-years from Earth, in a region not frequently traveled by hegemony vessels." "Is everyone okay?" Do-hyun looked around at his small crew. Jae-won was checking systems, her face pale but determined. "The drive is completely drained. Most other systems are running at minimal levels." Soo-jin nodded from her pilot's chair. "I'm fine. Ship's responding, but barely." "Can we do it again?" Do-hyun asked. "Create another wormhole if the hegemony finds us." "Not for approximately 76 hours, Jun answered. "The drive requires time to recharge, and several components were damaged during the jump." Do-hyun slumped in his chair, the reality of their situation sinking in. They were alive, but stranded in unknown space. The ship was damaged. They had almost no supplies. and they were now fugitives with the most wanted vessel in the galaxy. "What do we do now, Captain?" Su Jin asked quietly. Do Hyun looked at each of them. Jae-won, brilliant and brave. Su Jin, loyal and skilled. And Jun, an intelligence beyond any he had known. "We survive," he said firmly. "We repair the ship, and then we figure out how to fight back." As if in response, the lights in the bridge brightened slightly. Through the view screen, a distant star shone against the darkness, a small but defiant point of light in the vast emptiness of space. 3 months had passed since their desperate escape. The Dauntless floated hidden within a dense asteroid field on the edge of an uncharted system. From the outside, the ship looked different. The scratched and dull hull now had a smooth, almost polished appearance. The damage from the hegemony weapons had completely disappeared. Inside the ship, Do Hyun stood on the bridge, looking at the star map Jun had created. They were far from any major trade routes or hegemony outposts. "Captain," Su Jin called from her station. "The latest system tests are complete." Do Hyun walked over to her. "And engine efficiency is up 27% from yesterday," she said with a small smile. "The ship is healing itself." Jae-won entered the bridge, wiping her hands on a cloth. "It's more than healing," she said. "It's evolving." Over the past months, they had watched in amazement as the Dauntless transformed. The nanomaterials in the hull didn't just repair damage. They improved the structure, making it stronger and more efficient with each passing day. "June, status report," Do Hyun requested. The AI's voice filled the bridge. "All systems are now operating at 89% of optimal capacity. The experimental drive is fully functional. Weapon systems have reconfigured to increase power output by 43%. And what about the new capabilities you mentioned?" Do Hyun asked. "The adaptive shielding is now operational," Jun replied. "Based on data from our encounter with the hegemony weapons, I have modified the shield harmonics to better absorb energy attacks." Jae-won shook her head in wonder. "It's learning from every challenge. The more problems it faces, the better it gets at solving them." "The ship was designed to evolve," Jun explained. "Project Aurora created systems capable of self-improvement. The more the ship is tested, the more advanced it becomes." "Time for another test then," Do Hyun decided. "Su Jin, prepare for a short jump. Let's see what this improved drive can do." The crew took their positions. The Dauntless moved out from the asteroid field, its engines barely making a sound. "Drive charging," Jun announced. "Ready in 3, 2, 1. The familiar distortion appeared in front of the ship, but this time the transition was smoother. The discomfort they had felt during the first jump was reduced to a mild sensation of pressure. When they emerged, they were near the edge of a small star system with a yellow sun and several planets. "Jump successful," Jun reported. "All systems stable. Power levels at 82%. "That was easier," Su Jin said, checking her instruments. "And more precise. We're exactly where we aim to be." "The drive system is now operating at 67% of its designed capacity," Jun said. "Further improvements are possible with continued use and refinement." Do Hyun was about to order another jump when an alert sounded. "Distress signal detected," Jun announced, "coming from the third planet in this system." "Put it through," Do Hyun ordered. A voice crackled over the comm system, filled with static and fear. "This is Research Vessel Horizon. We are under attack by pirates. Our shields are failing. Please, any ship in range. We need help." Do Hyun looked at his small crew. They had spent months hiding, focusing on restoring the Dauntless. Getting involved would reveal their presence. "We should ignore it," Jae-won said quietly. "We can't risk exposing ourselves. If we do nothing, those people will die." Su Jin countered. Do Hyun closed his eyes briefly. He had lost his rank because he refused to fire on innocents. He wouldn't now refuse to save them. "Set course for the third planet," he ordered. "Jun, Prepare all defense systems. Yes, Captain, the AI responded. May I suggest we use this opportunity to test our combat capabilities? As long as we save that ship, test whatever you want, Du Hyun said. The Dauntless surged forward, faster than any of them expected. The stars blurred as they moved. Our sublight engines have improved significantly, Jun noted. We will reach the horizon in 4 minutes, 37 seconds. As they approached the planet, they saw the situation clearly. A small research vessel was being attacked by 3 pirate ships. The pirates were taking turns firing at the defenseless vessel, toying with it. They're cruel, Sujin said angrily. They could have disabled it already if they wanted. They're having fun, Du Hyun said coldly. Jun, target their engines. I want them disabled, not destroyed if possible. Targeting systems online, Jun replied. However, I should note that showing mercy to pirates is not typically rewarded. Just disable them, Du Hyun repeated. The Dauntless dropped out of high speed near the battle. For a moment, all ships seemed to pause, surprised by the newcomer. Then one of the pirate vessels turned, firing a volley of energy weapons at the Dauntless. The shots hit the shields, which glowed briefly but held without strain. Shield integrity at 99.7%, Jun reported. Their weapons are inefficient. Return fire, Du Hyun ordered. Disable their engines. The Dauntless fired, not the crude energy bursts they had expected, but precise beams that cut through the pirate ship shields like they weren't there. The engines of the first pirate vessel went dark immediately. The other 2 ships tried to flee, but the Dauntless moved with impossible speed, intercepting them. 2 more precision strikes, and they too were drifting, powerless. All hostile vessels disabled, Jun announced. The research vessel Horizon is hailing us. Open a channel, Du Hyun said. This is Dr. Lee Yuna of the Horizon. A woman's voice came through, steady despite the situation. Thank you for your assistance. May I ask who you are? Do Hyun hesitated, then replied, This is Captain Ta Do Hyun of the independent vessel Dauntless. Do you require medical assistance? Yes, we have several injured crew members, Dr. Lee replied. And our engines were damaged in the attack. We can't return to our base. We'll dock and provide aid, Do Hyun decided. Prepare your airlock. Dr. Lee Yuno was a tall woman with intelligent eyes that missed nothing. As Jae-won treated the injured researchers, Lee spoke quietly with Do Hyun. Your ship is unlike anything I've ever seen, she said. Those weapons cut through military-grade shields without effort. We've made some modifications, Do Hyun said vaguely. Lee smiled slightly. Modifications, yes, just like the hegemony modified the truth about what they're doing throughout the galaxy. Do Hyun tensed. What do you mean? I'm a xenobiologist studying independent evolution patterns, Lee explained. But what I've really been documenting is how the hegemony has been stunting technological growth across dozens of worlds. Not just Earth. She pulled out a small data device. They maintain power through artificial restrictions, not actual superiority. They find advanced technology, they take it or destroy it. They find brilliant minds, they recruit them or eliminate them. Why are you telling me this? Do Hyun asked. Because your ship just did something impossible, Lee said simply. And instead of running away from people in need, you helped. That tells me you're not working for the hegemony. Do Hyun considered his options, then made a decision. Would you like a tour of our modified ship, Doctor? Lee's amazement at the Dauntless's technology matched their own when they first discovered it. June explained the basics of the ship's systems as they walked through the corridors. This could change everything, Lee said finally. The hegemony's control depends on no one having technology that can challenge them. We're just one ship, Jae-won pointed out. Even with these advancements, we can't fight the entire hegemony fleet. You don't need to, Lee replied. Information is what matters. If other worlds knew this technology was possible, that the hegemony has been lying about the limits of science, the rebellion would spread like wildfire. Later, as repairs on the horizon neared completion, Li made an unexpected request. "Take me with you," she said to Du Hyun. "My research is valuable, but what you have here is more important. I can help you understand the political landscape outside Terran space. There are allies out there, people and groups working against hegemony control." Before Du Hyun could answer, Jun's voice interrupted. "Captain, I've detected an encrypted transmission from one of the pirate vessels. It appears they managed to send a partial message before we disabled them." "To whom?" Du Hyun asked, suddenly alert. "Unknown, but the encryption pattern matches hegemony military protocols. Pirates working for the hegemony." Su Jin asked. "More likely bounty hunters disguised as pirates," Li suggested. "The hegemony has spread word about a stolen Terran vessel. There's a massive reward." Do Hyun made a quick decision. "Dr. Li, if you want to come with us, gather your essential research now. We leave in 20 minutes. As Li hurried back to the horizon, Do Hyun turned to Jun. "How much of our capabilities did those bounty hunters manage to transmit?" "Insufficient data was sent to provide a complete analysis," Jun replied. "However, they certainly reported our presence and basic weapon capabilities. So the hegemony will know we're not just running. We're a threat," Jai-Won said. "Good," Du Hyun said firmly. "Let them worry for a change." When Li returned with her data and a few belongings, the Dauntless was ready to depart. As they moved away from the disabled ships, Jun detected multiple vessels entering the system. "Hegemony Response Fleet," the AI announced. 6 warships, heavily armed. "Can we outrun them?" Du Hyun asked. "Unnecessary," Jun replied. "The experimental drive is ready. I suggest we make a dramatic exit." Do Hyun smiled slightly. "Agreed. Let them see what they're chasing." The Dauntless turned to face the approaching hegemony ships. Its hull began to glow with a soft blue light. The space in front of it twisted and warped. "Let's show them what human technology can do," Du Hyun said. "Jun, activate the drive." The wormhole opened, larger and more stable than before. As the hegemony ships fired their first volley, the Dauntless slipped into the distortion and vanished. The last thing the hegemony commanders saw was a ship that looked nothing like the junked warship they had been told to find. This vessel was sleek, powerful, and very, very dangerous. News of the encounter spread quickly through underground channels. Other outcasts, refugees, and those persecuted by the hegemony began searching for the mysterious ship that could challenge the oppressors. The Dauntless became more than a vessel. It became a symbol of resistance. And deep in hegemony space, plans were already being made, not just to capture the Dauntless, but to make an example of the world that had created it. Earth was about to face the full wrath of the hegemony. 6 months had passed since the Dauntless rescued Dr. Li and became a symbol of resistance. The ship had changed so much that it was barely recognizable as the junked warship Du Hyun had purchased from the scrapyard. The hull now gleamed with a blue-silver sheen. Its shape had become more streamlined, the nanomaterials constantly adjusting and improving. Inside, the systems were far beyond anything in the galaxy. The crew had grown too. Besides Du Hyun, Jai-Won, Su Jin, and Dr. Li, the Dauntless now carried 14 others, scientists, engineers, and former military personnel from 6 different worlds. All had suffered under hegemony rule. All had heard rumors of the mysterious ship that could outrun and outfight hegemony vessels. On the bridge, Du Hyun studied the latest intelligence reports. Dr. Li had connected them with resistance groups throughout the galaxy, creating a network that provided information and supplies. "Captain," Jun's voice came through the ship's communication system. "I finished analyzing the data from our last encounter with the hegemony patrol." The encounter had been brief. 3 hegemony ships had detected them near a mining colony. The Dauntless had disabled 2 before the 3rd could even aim its weapons. "What did you learn?" Du Hyun asked. Their shield harmonics have been modified to resist our standard weapons, Jun replied. They are adapting to our capabilities. Jaiwan, who was checking the engine systems, looked up. So they're learning from us, just as we learn from them. Yes, Jun confirmed. However, they are limited by conventional technology. We are not. That was the key difference. With each encounter, each challenge, the Dauntless evolved. The nanomaterials responded to new threats, reconfiguring to counter them. Jun's AI systems created new solutions faster than the hegemony engineers could design defenses. Dr. Lee entered the bridge, her face serious. Captain, we've received an encrypted message from Earth. It's from your friend Minho. Do-hyun tensed. They had heard nothing from Earth since their escape. Put it through to my station. Minho's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired, with new scars on his face. Do-hyun, I hope this finds you, he began. Things are bad here. The hegemony has declared Earth a problem world. They've established a blockade. No ships in or out without their approval. But that's not the worst of it. Minho's image flickered as he looked over his shoulder, checking if he was being watched. They're bringing in a fleet, not just warships, planet crackers. They plan to make an example of Earth. The attack begins in 2 weeks. They're hoping to draw you back. The message ended. The bridge was silent. Planet crackers, Su-jin whispered. They would destroy an entire world just to eliminate one ship. Not just a ship, Dr. Lee said quietly. What we represent. Hope. The possibility of freedom from their control. Do-hyun stood up, his decision already made. Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. Captain, Jaiwan said cautiously, even with our improvements, we're still just one ship. The hegemony will have hundreds of vessels protecting their planet crackers. We won't go alone, Do-hyun replied. Jun, send messages to all our resistance contacts. Tell them what's happening. Ask for their help. And if they don't come? Su-jin asked. Then we fight anyway, Do-hyun said firmly. I will not let Earth be destroyed because of us. The journey back to Earth took 10 days, even with the Dauntless's improved drive. They made stops at 3 resistance bases, gathering what allies they could. 27 ships joined them, a mix of modified merchant vessels, outdated warships, and small fast attackers. It was a tiny fleet compared to what the hegemony could field, but each ship was crewed by beings determined to fight. It's not enough, Jaiwan said as they observed their little fleet. We need an advantage. We have one, Jun replied. Using the data from Dr. Lee's research and our encounters with hegemony technology, I have identified a weakness in their communication systems. The AI explained the plan. The hegemony ships all use the same command frequencies. If disrupted at the right moment, it could cause confusion in their fleet. It won't stop them, Jun cautioned, but it will create an opening. A chance to target the planet crackers before they can deploy their weapons. As they approached Earth's solar system, they received another message. This one was from Admiral Choi, the man who had ended Do-hyun's military career. Captain Do-hyun, the Admiral began, looking older than Do-hyun remembered. I know we have our differences, but I'm asking, no, begging, for your help. The hegemony fleet has arrived. Our defenses cannot stop them. It was strange to see the proud Admiral humbled. Do-hyun responded simply, We're coming. Prepare your ships to join us when we arrive. The Dauntless dropped out of its wormhole just outside Earth's orbit. The rest of their small fleet followed, appearing one by one. The sight before them was terrifying. Hundreds of hegemony warships surrounded the planet. Among them were 3 massive vessels, the planet crackers. They were already moving into position, preparing their devastating weapons. Earth's defense fleet, what was left of it, was gathered on the far side of the planet. They were outmatched and outgunned. Open a channel to all ships, Do-hyun ordered. Ours and Earth's defense fleet. When the channel was ready, he spoke clearly. This is Captain Ta Do-hyun of the Dauntless. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for freedom from hegemony control. They have taken our technology, stunted our growth, and now they threaten our very existence. No more. He paused, looking at his crew, humans and aliens united in purpose. The Dauntless was once dismissed as junk. Now it's the most advanced warship in the galaxy. That is humanity's gift. We take what others discard and make it stronger. Today, we show the hegemony that strength. Across the communication system, cheers erupted from the Earth fleet and their allies. Focus your attacks on the planet crackers, Do-hyun continued. The Dauntless will create an opening. Be ready. The battle began with the hegemony ships firing first. They moved with practiced precision, their formations perfect. Activate the communication disruptor, Do-hyun ordered. Jun sent the signal. For several crucial seconds, the hegemony fleet faltered as their communication systems were flooded with contradictory commands. The Dauntless surged forward, its hull now glowing with energy. It moved with impossible speed, weaving between enemy ships. Its weapons, evolved far beyond their original design, cut through hegemony shields like they weren't there. The Resistance fleet and Earth's defenders followed, concentrating fire on the paths the Dauntless cleared. The hegemony ships recovered quickly and returned fire. Several of the smaller Resistance ships were hit. 2 exploded. The others continued fighting despite their damage. First planet cracker within range. Soo-jin reported, her hand steady on the controls. All weapons, fire, Do-hyun ordered. The Dauntless unleashed its full arsenal. The planet cracker's shields flared brilliantly, then failed. The massive ship began to break apart. 1 down, Jae-won reported. But our weapons are overheating. We need 3 minutes to recharge. Those 3 minutes seemed eternal. The Dauntless took multiple hits as it maneuvered to avoid the worst of the hegemony fire. The nanomaterial hull absorbed and adapted to each attack, but even it had limits. Hull integrity at 72%, Jun announced. Repairs in progress, but damage is accumulating faster than repairs can complete. Just as the weapons came back online, a hegemony flagship moved to block their path to the second planet cracker. It's Admiral Kor's ship, Dr. Lee identified, the military leader of the hegemony forces. The flagship fired, hitting the Dauntless directly. The ship shuddered. Hull integrity at 58%, Jun updated, diverting power to critical systems. Do-hyun made a split-second decision. Soo-jin set collision course. Captain, she questioned, looking back at him. Not to ram them, he clarified. Get us close. Point-blank range. She nodded and adjusted course. The Dauntless accelerated toward the hegemony flagship, taking more hits as it closed the distance. Hull integrity at 41%, Jun warned. Weapons ready, Jae-won reported as they came alongside the much larger flagship. Fire everything, Do-hyun ordered. At such close range, the hegemony shields couldn't distribute the energy fast enough. The Dauntless's weapons tore through the flagship, destroying its main power systems and weapons. The path to the second planet cracker was clear. The Earth fleet converged on it, their combined firepower finally overwhelming its defenses. 2 down, Soo-jin reported. 1 to go. But the Dauntless was badly damaged. Systems were failing across the ship. Hull integrity at 29%, Jun reported. Flight capabilities compromised. The third planet cracker was moving into final position, its main weapon powering up. None of the other ships could reach it in time. Jun, Do-hyun said quietly, "Can we make one more wormhole jump?" "Yes," the eye replied. "But with our current damage, successful rematerialization is not guaranteed. Survival probability, 27%. Do-hyun looked at his crew. They nodded their understanding and agreement. Set jump coordinates directly in front of the planet cracker's main weapon, he ordered. We'll block the shot with our hull. Coordinates set, Jun confirmed. Drive charging. As the experimental drive powered up one last time, Du-hyun thought of how far they had come. From a piece of junk in a scrapyard to humanity's last hope. The wormhole opened, and the Dauntless jumped. They emerged directly in the path of the planet Cracker's weapon just as it fired. The beam hit the Dauntless's nanomaterial hull, which absorbed the energy rather than being destroyed by it. Energy conversion in progress, Jum announced, sounding almost surprised. The hull is adapting beyond expected parameters. The Dauntless began to glow, brighter and brighter, as it absorbed the planet Cracker's attack. Then, with a burst of light that was visible across the solar system, it released the energy back at its source. The planet Cracker exploded, the force throwing the Dauntless away like a leaf in a storm. When the crew regained consciousness, they found their ship drifting. But it wasn't dead. The nanomaterials were already repairing the damage, using the absorbed energy to rebuild. "Captain," Soo-jin called, pointing to the view screen. "Look." The remaining hegemony ships were retreating, jumping away from Earth as fast as their drives would allow. Without the planet Crackers, without their flagship, their advantage was gone. "We won," Jae-won whispered, as if afraid to believe it. Reports came in from the Earth fleet. The hegemony forces were in full retreat across the galaxy. News of their defeat was spreading. Other worlds were rising up, driving out their oppressors. One by one, ships from Earth's fleet approached the Dauntless. Their crews sent messages of thanks and celebration. Admiral Choi's voice came over the comm. "Captain Du-hyun, Earth owes you a debt we can never repay. I was wrong about you. About a lot of things." "What happens now?" Dr. Lee asked as they watched Earth growing larger in their view screen, blue and beautiful. "Now," Du-hyun said, "we rebuild. Not just Earth, but a new alliance. One where technology is shared, not hoarded. Where advancement comes from cooperation, not control." As they moved toward Earth, the Dauntless's systems continued to heal and improve. The ship had become more than just a vessel. It was a symbol of what humanity could achieve. Once dismissed as junk, now the most advanced warship in the galaxy. And this was just the beginning.